Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again with yet another deck tech for you. Obviously, I'm recording this the night before Brothers War, so please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, come and give me a follow here on YouTube. We're trying to get the numbers up again. Sitting at 79 at the moment, but I need to plug who the 79th person was. In the description down below, you'll find a link to a friend's YouTube channel, Lotus Bloom Gaming. They do deck techs for Commander as well. They're all under $30 in real life. She uses a whole thing to do it, so she's having a slightly different way of taking it. Me, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but go and give her a follow as well. Go and subscribe to her channel. I know she's going to do the same, hopefully, on my next video. Well, if you aren't, I hope you are now. You've watched this anyway. But yeah, go and give her a follow as well, so you can get in there. But anyway, let's talk about the card today. So this is one of the cards I've been thinking about for a while. It's something from history, because back in the day when I was young and I wasn't going bald and all the rest of it, I did read the Brothers War book. If you haven't read the book, go and try and find it. It's really hard to get hold of a copy now. I've still got mine upstairs somewhere. But this is the card based on one of the big characters from that book. It was the person who really taught Urza and Mishra about artifacts. So I'm guessing you know who I'm talking about now, and that is Tocasia, Dig Site Mentor. I hope I've said that right. If I've said it wrong, let me know in the comments down below once you've hit the like and subscribe button. Not that I'm plugging my channel as well. 1 green, white and blue for a 4/3 legendary creature, human artificer. And creatures you control have vigilance, tap, surveil 1. Fantastic ability to give all your creatures. But it's a second ability I'm really interested in. 2 generic, and then 2 green, 2 white, 2 blue. Exile Tocasia, if I'm saying it right again, from your graveyard, and return any number of target artifact cards with total mana value 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. Like this card a lot. And I've been thinking about it. Now, the trouble with this is you're relying on your graveyard, and there's graveyard hate around at the moment. There's also a lot of hate around for artifacts, so it kind of balances itself out. This is the deck I've built. I'm going to go through it using MTG Goldfish, because obviously, as I say, I'm recording this the night before the stuff goes live on MTGO. So, without further ado, here's the deck list. So, as you can see, I obviously start with Tocasia, Dig Site Mentor. They're all on Commander, so they're all on MTG Goldfish. Obviously, at the moment, as I said, as I record this, there's no prices for some of the cards on MTGO, and this deck's already sitting at 48 tickets, so 50-ish bucks, 810 quid in real life. So we'll ignore that and we'll just go buy what's on MTGO. So let's go through some of the choices. Now, what I wanted to do was make sure that most of the creatures either interacted with artifacts or were artifacts, mainly because we want to be getting them back with Tocasia when we get that far. Okay, so what have I gone with? Well, let's just go through the creatures. There's 47 of them, so there's quite a few artifact creatures I want to include. That may be too many for a commander deck. There may be other things you want to include that are better, but I've gone with this amount. So, started with Hangerback Walker, Pilgrim, Birds of Paradise, Noble Hierarch. No real change then. Ovia Passiri Sage Lifecrafter is usually something you see as a commander in a tokens deck, I'll be honest. But it does produce, or they produce, I should say, 1/1 colourless artifact creature tokens. Yeah, they're servos, but they still produce them. And, the 5 mana, tap, create an XX colourless construct artifact creature token, where X is the number of creatures you control, really does come into play in this deck quite a lot. So, just one little legend. And not that expensive on MTGO, as you can see, compared to, say, something like Noble Hierarch. Epoxyte's next. I decided this was quite good fun. 2 mana for a 1/1. When it dies, you get to exile it, put some time counters on it. When it comes back into play, it comes into play with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. The other good thing is, if you bring it back with Tocasia, if it's in your graveyard, for some reason it's got in your graveyard, it might have been countered, something might have happened to it. When you bring it back with Tocasia, it comes back as the 4/4 version. So, yeah, 2 mana 4/4, pretty good. Ethereum Sculptor. There's a lot of cards you've seen in artifact decks before, so I'm going to skip over them. Ethereum Sculptors make artifacts cheaper. I went with Glintnest Crane just for a 1/3 creature, so I can go and find some artifacts if I needed to. So that's the only reason it's in there. Hedron Crawler. It ramps. Like ramp. Couldn't think of a better way to do ramp apart from my usual selection of artifacts over here that I'll get to. But I've also decided to have a little bit of fun. It's traditional. It's the Brothers War. You really need to do sort of like I could have gone with Urza's Mine, Urza's Tower, Urza's Power Plant. I went with the new creatures. So Mine Work is in. Gain 1 life to tap it. 2/2. 2/1, sorry, for 2 mana. Tap it, gain a life. That's fine. But if you control Power Plant Worker and Tower Worker, you gain 3 life instead. Thank you very much. That's nice. Mere Retriever. I'm going to come back to Mere Retriever because I want to talk about some of the other cards that do the similar effect. So bear with me on that. One of the things I have gone for in this deck, you can see most of it's colourless creatures. But one of the things I have tried to do is include some of the new creatures from Brothers War that produce Power Stones. And the first one of them is Power Stone Engineer. Dies, create a tap Power Stone token. Now, Power Stones, you haven't played him because I played in the pre-release yesterday. Did okay, came joint first. I was in 3rd place on opponents' win percentages, but there was 3 of us on 12 points, so that's all good. But one thing I did discover is these Power Stone tokens are really quite good. There's a lot of talk I've seen recently on the fact that people don't like them because they can't cast spells with them. They have to be artifact spells, la-di-da-di-da. Don't really care about that. We've got a lot of artifacts in this deck, and these are really good ways of ramping your mana up so you can cast all the things that are coming up creature-wise from Artifact Land. And some of the other stuff we've got coming up that you can see just on the other side of the screen over here. Where am I pointing to? There you go, up there. So yeah, I've decided to include as many of them as I could get hold of. And interestingly, some of these are already available on MTGO. I don't really know what's going on, but they were there, so I bought them. I have in my collection ready to go with this deck. So here's the first one. 2/1 for a 2 mana for a 2/1. When it dies, you get a Power Stone token. Kill it off. Attack with it. No one cares. Just get the Power Stone. Right, moving on to the other creatures. Steel Seer. You've all seen it before. +1/+1 counters on each artifact creature you control. Argravedian Opportunist is next one in as well, but this comes into play for 3 mana and gives you another Power Stone token. Again, new card. It's common, so it should be reasonably cheap to pick up on MTGO when they come out. Chief of the Foundry to pump artifact creatures. Filgry Familiar is just an artifact creature for 3 mana. Gain a little bit of life and draw a card when it dies. Foundry Inspector makes our artifact creatures cost less to gain, or artifact spells in general cost less, so that's really nice. Junk Diver is one of the cards I wanted to talk about along with Mere Retriever. When these die, you get to return target artifact cards from your graveyard to your hand. So you're always going to have a way of getting stuff back from your graveyard, even if you can't get Tocasia out for some reason. Bear that in mind, it could be really relevant. These two don't have limitations on the mana value either, so bear that in mind when you're looking at this deck. Master of Ethereum, +1/+1 to the creatures, power and toughness equal to the artifacts. Cool. Muzio Visionary Architects in. It's a lot of artifacts in the deck. You're going to have a lot of them in play. You can reveal them, put an artifact card from among them onto the battlefield. Really nice. Now, you could play as a Lord High Artificer or whatever it is. I've done a deck tech on it somewhere before. I decided against playing Urza in this deck. I'm trying to keep it reasonable costed on MTGO. Urza's still really expensive at the moment, but if you've got Urza, replace Urza for Muzio, take Muzio out, put Urza in, or take out one of the other cards I'm coming to. But I've gone with Muzio because I thought it'd be quite nice as a way to get some artifacts from our library into play for a nice reasonable cost to mana. What I will say, these Power Stones, it's an artifact with tap, add 1 colourless mana. This mana can't be spent to cast a non-artifact spell. You can use the mana to activate his ability, and all abilities you can activate with the Power Stones, because you're not casting a spell, just using the mana to activate the ability, so bear that in mind. Right, moving on. Palladium Mare Ramps. Mere Ramps, 2 mana, that's great. Pilgrim's Eye goes and finds one of the basic lands for short, that's great. I've included Reclamation Sage. I am a little bit scared of some of the ley lines. The black one, Ley Line of the Void especially. This is why this is here. There are also some other artifacts we may want to get rid of that aren't great. But it's also a creature, which is important because we can surveil with it. That's another thing. Psy Master Thopterus is a no-brainer in this deck. You're going to be casting so many artifact spells, you might as well get the 1/1 artifact creature tokens while you're at it. And the nice ability to sacrifice 2 artifacts and draw a card ain't bad either. Again, you can use the Power Stone to pay the 1. You've got to have the blue, but you can use the Power Stone to pay the 1. Scrap Trawler. Yep. Some of your artifacts will get killed. You can return other artifacts to your hand because of it. Scrap Trawler, you want to keep it in play as much as possible, and if it dies, get it back as soon as you can. Shardless Agent's just another creature, so we can surveil. It does cascade, so it does mean we can hit some of our nice cheaper artifacts. We haven't got much, you know. If you look here, we've got all these lovely 2-drops. You really don't want to hit your Hangerback Walker, but hitting any of these will help a little bit as we go along. Tower Worker is the other assembly worker one. Reach, tap, add a colourless mana, so it's a bit of mana ramp for 3 mana. And if you've got the other 3 in play, you get 3 mana instead of 1. So, yeah, okay. Bit of a throwback to Urza's Tower if you remember that card. Jaheira's Familiar's in. Artifacts are historic spells, therefore this makes them cost 1 less. Thank you very much. Likewise, Phyrexian Metamorph. We are having a Brothers War. Might as well use some Phyrexian stuff. And this is really nice because you can just copy anything that's in play. So, you know, might as well go for it. Solemn Sim, go and find a land, artifact creature. Stone Retrieval Units, one of the cards, again, from Brothers War that I've included. So we get the Power Stone token. Bear that in mind. Again, it's common. It should be cheap to pick up. Blade Griff Prototype, and this is where we kind of get into the artifacts we are really keen to get into play. Blade Griff Prototype's quite nice. Destroy target non-land permanent of that player's choice that one of your opponents controls. That's quite nice. Cataclysmic Gearhulk is an artifact. So you get all the reductions. You can use the mana from the Power Stones to pay the 3. And it does the whole Wrath the Board effect. I haven't gone with Day of Judgment, Wrath of God, so on and so forth. I'm going with this in here because hopefully we're going to be bouncing it in and out. Great Desert Prospector is one of the new cards. This is uncommon. Again, hopefully it'll be cheap to pick up when you get there. But this is nice because each creature you control, you get to put a Power Stone token in play for it. And you can ramp to a massive amount really quickly with this card. Hence why Kuldotha Forge Master's in here. Tap it, sack off the Power Stones you don't need. Go and get an artifact you really do want to have into play. And we're coming to the big scary things in a minute. So bear with me. Platoon Dispensers in as well. This is another new card. This is going to be slightly more expensive, I would figure, on MTGO. It's going to be a mythic rare. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more other creatures, draw a card. Fantastic. And you can pay 3 and a white to get a 1/1 colourless soldier artifact token. And it's got Unearth. Now, you don't want to use the Unearth ability because you're hopefully going to be returning this with Tocasia when we get there. But bear that in mind that if push comes to shove and you need to get that last 4 points of damage in, you can get this out of the graveyard, swing with it for 4, and hopefully have a bit of mana around to make some more tokens with before it exiles itself out of the game. Okay. Power Plant Worker's in as well. Power Plant Worker gets +2/+2 onto the end of the turn, and if you control creatures named Mine Worker and Tower Worker, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Power Plant Worker instead. Activate only once each turn. Yeah, hopefully you have him in play. This will become a 6/6, 8/8, 10/10 really quickly. So note it's only activate once each turn. You can activate in your turn, playing it in Commander, activate it in your opponent's turns as well. Keep the mana available if you got it. Another reason why the Power Stones are quite good for this. Replication Specialist is from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and it's a little way of copying some of your artifacts. Obviously, you can't return this from the graveyard anyway, well, because it's not an artifact in any shape or form, but it does give you the ability to make copies of your artifacts, and that could be useful. Steel Exemplar, I'm trying out. Not sure about it. You really want to pay for it with Power Stones if you can, just so you get it coming as a 6/6, but 6/6 with Trample for 5 mana could be good. Bear it in mind. Or, 5 mana, use all the same mana colour, so you make sure you get those tokens. Verdurous Gearhulk's in. Pump our creatures around. It's also an artifact, so we can get it back. Kappa Cannoneer was from one of the sets I can't remember. I think it was in one of the Commander decks for Neon Dynasty, but I'm not 100% sure, so if I've got it wrong, I'm sorry. However, it's improvise, so you can use your artifacts to tap it, pay the mana. And whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Kappa, and it can't be blocked. It's also got Ward 4. It's amazing. Play it. Get one on MTGO if you haven't got one. I'm not sure how much it is in real life. It's a little bit pricey. It's one of the more expensive cards in the deck at the moment, but it's worth picking up as soon as you can. Sharding Finks is a throwback to many, many years ago. Shards of Alara, if I remember correctly. 4/4 for 6 mana. Not great, but however, whenever an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you get to put a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token into play. Most of your creatures are artifacts. You're going to be producing a lot of Thopters. I have avoided Anointed Procession in this deck, but you could play it in here and have all those extra copies of it as well. So bear that in mind, but it's not in this deck. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it. I've done a lot of things with Anointed Procession, Parallel Lives, so on and so forth. But bear that in mind. Worm Coil Engine, traditional big artifact. One of the win things. Ironcore Crusher is from the Brothers War, and it's got this prototype ability. If you haven't heard about prototype, go and look it up. But basically, you can either pay the 7 and get the 4/6, or you can play the 2 green and the 2 and get the 2/5. But whichever one you get, you still get the ability. So whenever Ironclaw Crusher attacks, target attacking creature gets +X/+0 until the end of turn, where X is the Ironclaw Crusher's power. Now, you want to try and chuck it on one of your flyers if you can. You know, got some tokens from your sharding things, chuck it on there when you attack. Bear it in mind, this hasn't got trample, so it doesn't really help itself. However, Cityscape Leveler has got trample, and you should be able to pay this quite happily. Again, it's got Unearth, you don't want to worry about it, but 8/8 for an 8 mana Cityscape Leveler. Trample, whenever you cast this spell and whenever Cityscape Leveler attacks, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. Okay, you give your opponent a Power Stone, but who cares? You're going to be blowing up the most annoying thing on the board every time you attack with it. Again, Tocasia can bring it back because it's under 10. Yeah, you're not going to get a lot with it, but you can keep bringing them back as long as it doesn't get exiled from your graveyard. Likewise, Spotterthopter. I had a lot of fun with this in the pre-release yesterday. This was good fun for me. Getting that Scry when you get it out for 8 is fantastic. Again, it's a card you should be able to do that with fairly easily in this deck with the Power Stones you've got coming into play. And the final artifact, I had to go for it. I love this card. This was one of my favourite cards from Commander Legends when it first came out. Phyrexian Triniform, 9 mana for a 9/9. Okay, that's not great. However, when it dies, you get 3 artifacts. You get 3/3. You get 3/3 colourless Golem artifact creature tokens. Go for it. Love it. Anyway, they're the creatures in the deck. Obviously, Tocasia, return up to 10. You're going to be returning a lot of these artifact ones, which you want to be doing a lot. Yeah, a couple of 5/5s maybe. Okay, maybe Phyrexian Triniform eventually to save you paying the encore costs. Just one thing to say, if you do encore it, yes, you get a token that attacks each of your opponents that turn, and then you get all the 3/3s when all those tokens die, but this is then gone, it's exiled, and that's the end of it. You don't want to be exiling it from your graveyard. You want to be bringing it back and bringing it back with Tocasia. So try and keep it in your graveyard as much as possible. Spells, I kept it fairly simple. Beast Within to blow up our most annoying thing. Argravian Restoration for 4 mana brings back 2 return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Hello. Right, anyway. Right. Also, I've included one of the new cards. New sorcery from Brothers War, Felajar Excavation, 3 and 2 green. You get 3 tapped Power Stone tokens, so lots of mana really quickly, and you gain 3 life. The last card I've included, just in case things go horribly wrong, is Brilliant Restoration. 7 mana, bring every single artifact and enchantment, they've got a couple of enchantments, not many, from your graveyard back onto the battlefield. The rest of the artifacts, Mana Crypt, Mox Tantalite, Soul Talisman for ramp, Elixir of Immortality in case things do start going pear-shaped, or if someone plays Rest in Peace and you need to just shuffle everything in to have a chance of winning. That's why this is here. Mana Vaults, ramps. Soul Ring, ramps. Bootlegger's Stash, ramps. The Might and the Weak Stone. I have... I'm going to have to open this in another page. Hold on a second. This card... Sorry, let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see it. I didn't realise it was going to do that. This card won me games yesterday. I really enjoyed playing it, and it is thanks to Lotus Bloom, who, I was talking about her YouTube channel down below. She's the one who pointed it out to me. Yeah, I was a bit of an idiot. 2 abilities. When it comes into play, you can either draw 2 cards or give something -5/-5, and then it stays on the battlefield and taps for 2 mana. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. Yeah, it's that good. It really was good. It won me games yesterday. I really want to try it in Commander. Now, you could take it out, put something else in you prefer. I've just included this because I think it's going to be quite good in Commander. I haven't got, obviously, Urza Lord Protector in the deck, so we're not going to be doing the melding thing to do the whole Planeswalker side of it. However, the -5 and it gets killed off, you get it back with Tocasia. That's fine. Bear it in mind. Sorry, a little bit of a yawn. Right, enchantments, we didn't go with much, to be honest. I went with enhanced surveillance, so each time you may look at an additional 2 cards each time you surveil. So, yep, okay then. And it's a nice little enchantment because if things do go pear-shaped, you can shuffle your graveyard into your library. You can just exile this if you've got it in play, put everything back into your library. So it acts as a backup elixir of immortality if you do get hit with, like say, Rest in Peace or a Leyline of the Void comes into play, or someone tries to Paducah bog you, for example. You've got 2 versions to get all your stuff from your graveyard back into your library before they all vanish. Smothering Tithe was a bit of a no-brainer. It works really nicely because it does, don't forget the treasure tokens are artifacts. So if you have got your, wherever I can find it now, Kilduth the Forge Master in play, you can sacrifice 3 of the treasures to go and get another artifact into play. Doopy-doopy-doo. Bear that in mind. As for the lands, it's the usual selection of green, white and blue lands. There's nothing particularly fancy in here. We have got Reliquary Tower in just in case things get a little bit, get overloaded with cards for some reason. We've got Sparta's Headquarters in. Everything else is a reasonable thing. Okay, Rejuvenating Springs is really expensive on here, so you could take this out if you want to get the cost down of your MTGO deck. Temple of the False God I'll put in just for the ramp. And that's it. That is my little take on Tocasia. By the time depending when this video goes up, because I'm going to try and put it up tomorrow, which would be the 15th of November. So depending where you are in the world, this will either be a preview ready for when MTGO goes live, or you'll be watching it with breakfast if you're over this side of the pond, for want of a better phrase. But I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to start doing my next load of videos going through the decks I want to build and play for Brothers War, so keep your eyes out for them. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, jump over to Lotus Bloom's gaming channel, give them a follow as well. They'll appreciate it as well. They've got more followers than I am, so I'm really hoping they do plug me in their next video. But anyway, the link's down below. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will hopefully see you on stream soon when I've picked up one of these and I can play it on my stream. Take care, see you all later, have a nice evening.